Hi everybody, welcome to Simply Scuba. In today's video, I'm taking a closer look at the Apeks Luna Advanced Dive Torch. Now this is a small but powerful dive torch. This can produce up to 3,600 lumens of bright white light, 3,600 lumens. That is a lot of power, and even though it's relatively small in size, this has a burn time at maximum of 2 hours. So it can produce 3,600 lumens for 2 hours at a given time. And those are actually registered and tested, because a lot of dive torches, they'll say that, oh, it can theoretically produce this amount of light, whereas Apeks have actually tested it and said, no, it actually does produce that much light. Very, very bright. Lots of different programmable modes on the inside, which is quite handy. So instead of just having a high, medium, and low, this has 6 different program modes. So you have different high, medium, and lows. So if you need to change the torch to make it a bit more like economies for longer burn times, you can change it very quick and easy. But yeah, all in all, yeah, let's take a closer look and see what you actually get inside of the box. Okay, so let's take a look and see what you actually get inside of the box. So this is what's going to arrive at your front door. So eco-friendly packaging, lots of sort of cardboard, reducing the amount of plastic, which is wonderful. Not much on the front. You just have the barcode on the bottom. On the underside, what's inside of the box, so the Luna, the USB charger and lead, so adapters, lanyard, Goodman handle, and just information made in the UK, which is wonderful. Taking that cardboard sleeve off and put that to one side. Then we have this semi-rigid case, which is quite nice. So you can reuse this, use this for whatever you want, either to keep the torch and its bits and bobs all sort of contained afterwards, or whatever you want it to be. Zippered closure. And then opening it up. So you got your torch, your Goodman handle, you have the obligatory book of words and recharging advice, instructions on how to recharge the torch. The quick start guide, it's worth having a quick read through this just to sort of understand how the torch works, because it's got that single button, but it does have multiple modes on the inside, so you can actually adjust how your torch actually works and what the output is. So it's always worth reading through this, and in here it really it sort of spells out exactly how those different modes are going to work. So the torch itself, I'll take a closer look at the torch a little bit later. You get a Goodman style handle, so a real sort of aluminium rubberized handle. Again, I'll take a closer look at that later. This insert, which keeps everything neat and tidy, and then underneath you have the plug with the recharging lead there. I'll show you how that works in a little bit. A small bolt and a washer to attach it onto the Goodman handle, and a wrist lanyard so that you can attach it to your wrist. Okay, so let's look at the torch first. So the torch. So this is short but chunky. It is a chunky torch, so holding it in your hand, you can do it, but it wouldn't feel quite right on a long dive. The body of the torch, so this is milled out of anodized aluminium, or it's milled out of aluminium and then they anodize it. Big heat sink fins at the front, so this is going to help dissipate some of the heat that the torch is producing by kicking out 3,600 lumens of light. That's going to produce a fair amount of heat, so that's going to help protect the torch so it can sort of run at full power. But on the inside, it also has an intelligent thermal chip, which is going to limit the amount of power. If it reads that it's getting a bit too hot, it can actually dial it down and turn itself down, so it's not going to damage itself. If it then realizes that it's cooling down, it can then turn the power setting back up. So that's a really nice, clever switch inside of that. Factory sealed, so that means you never have to worry about changing O-rings or changing batteries over. There's a built-in lithium-ion battery, so you never have to worry about it flooding. If it does, then you just send it back and it should be covered by warranty, as long as you haven't been bashing it around or anything. On the underside of the torch, so the first thing is we have this little attachment point. So this is a screw thread for that nut to attach it onto the Goodman handle. And then further down, you have this small little chart, which is very important. So this is the battery times for the different power settings for the different programs. You can see we have 6 different programs. It'll normally straight out of the box, it'll be on program 1, which is the sort of the most powerful setting, and we have a high, a medium, and a low setting, and then it has the burn times sort of on it. So at full power, 3600 lumens or 3600 lumens, that has a burn time of 2 hours, which is incredible. If you dial that down to medium power settings, which will be a little over sort of half, it'll run for 6 hours, and then half that it will go down to 12 hours. And then below that you have the 5 other different programmable modes. So if you want a real economy light that will just last for the longest amount of time, you'd set it to program 3. Again, it has 3 high, medium, and low settings, but at high it'll run for 4 hours, and then 12 hours and 36 at low. So that gives you a nice amount of control. If you don't want 3 different power settings, then you have programs 4, 5, and 6. So yeah, it's very very customizable for your exact needs. The front, so 6 LEDs. So they're all kicking that bright white light in about a 20-degree beam angle, which is very practical. It's kind of that spotlight, but it's also a floodlight as well, so it's illuminating quite a lot of the scene in front of you, but it's still fairly focused, so it can cut through the any sort of murky water. On the other side, so we have our lanyard attachment points down here at the bottom. So you can attach a lanyard, or you can attach a bolt snap, whatever you want to do there. At the top, we have the push button. So this is how you're going to activate the torch. Below that, you have a screen. If I turn the torch on quickly, you'll see it spells out the battery level remaining, and just everything that you need to know about the torch, which is very, very clever. And I just find it's much better than a lot of other torches, which, if I actually turn it on, so at medium power, it will last for 5 hours and 56 minutes at its current sort of charge amount. If I then turn it down to low, it says 11 hours and 53 minutes. So it really spells it out for you, and that is there's a tilt sensor on the inside, so it actually adjusts the orientation of the text based on which way up it is, so you can always read it. If I just switch it off quickly. Here's how you're going to recharge these 2 little pins. So you recharge it in its current state. You get this section of the charger, and these 2 pins, these are slightly different sizes. There's a big or a sort of a fatter and a thinner one, and so they only go in one way. You just push them in and then plug that into the socket, and that will start to recharge your torch. And the reading actually spells out how much battery life in percentage it's at, so you know when it's at 100%. Okay, moving on to the Goodman handle. So this is a substantial Goodman handle, very fancy. It's got this sort of orange flare to it, which is quite cool. And they've got lots of different attachment points. So you can attach the torch and a camera, or multiple torches. It gives you a lot of sort of attachment and customizability. So yeah, if you want it a little bit further back, or if you want to attach something that has a larger size bolt, you can attach it. Very, very cool. They're all countersunk on the underside, so that makes it nice and smooth on the underside. Fully adjustable handle as well. So if you undo these bolts, one on either side, you can move the handle up and down, but you can also rotate it. So the handle, as you see here, so it's rubberized, which gives you a nice amount of grip. It's also textured and contoured, again, giving you grip even if you've got clunky gloves on. And you have this stainless steel attachment point, so you can sort of bolt snap it onto things. But if you don't want it there, if you want it on the other side, you can flip that handle around. You can rotate it. There's a nut on the inside, which means that you can sort of have it at 6 different orientations, as well as moving it up and down to account for bare hands or clunky gloves. It gives you a full amount of control, which is very, very clever. I'm going to attach it onto the torch itself so you can see how it fits. Yeah, and I'm going to do that now. Okay, attached onto the Goodman handle, it's going to look something like that. And yeah, because it's got that sort of compression washer on the inside, or it's not technically, it's probably a friction washer, or there's some special technical word for it, but it does mean that you can sort of get a nice amount of tension on it, which holds it in position and really gives it a very strong feel to it. And the metal of the Goodman handle, yeah, just sort of increases that sort of overall feel and strength. So yeah, because you've got that rubberized sort of textured fit, it means that you don't really have to hold sort of too hard onto it. And because you can move the torch sort of backwards and forwards a little bit, gives you kind of a control of where the sort of the center of gravity is of the torch. It doesn't want to roll too much forwards or continually roll too far back. And because you can adjust the height of that, it means that you can really get a good control of that torch, even when you're not holding onto it. So you can still do things in the water without removing that torch. You obviously can if you want to, and then clip it off onto something, but you don't immediately have to if you need to get to something very, very quickly. So I really like it with that Goodman handle. You still have sort of room to attach extra options, and if you don't want to use it for your torch, you want to use it for something else, you can. You have all those attachment points all over it, which gives you a great customizability to yeah, use that handle however you want. Okay guys, so that's the Luna Advanced. I realize that I haven't really turned it on yet because I just know how bright it's gonna be. So if I turn it on for you, make sure it's on high so that you can see the output. So yeah, fairly tight spot beam, but it does have a slight sort of floodlight to it as well, so you can illuminate what's going on around you. But yeah, very powerful torch. You can dial it down, you can see, and then it goes back to full power, and then holding that button down switches it off. So very easy to use. Because it comes with that Goodman handle, definitely like the Goodman style handle. Gives you a nice amount of grip. This is pretty much the same handle that they have on their new Lifeline reels, the Ascent and the Guide. Yeah, I definitely like it. This is a real powerhouse of a torch. This is for like real murky diving and where you need a lot of power to cut through the any sort of algae or sort of whatever, where you need a lot of light. If you're using this in sort of a night dive in clear blue waters, you'd be dialing that down, which means that you have really long burn times. So this will be fantastic for an entire week's liveaboard. You dial it down to one of its lower settings, and then you never really have to worry about recharging it. That screen on the back, very practical, so you know exactly how much burn time you have left at any given moment. You just look at the screen and it tells you how many hours and minutes you have left. And then, yeah, if you need to extend that, you change the settings. Programmable settings on the inside, so you can change it. If you don't want the full power, you change the programmable mode. Very clever. Rechargeable battery, factory sealed on the inside. This is ticking a lot of boxes for me. Very fancy torch. There's going to be far more information on our website, simplyscuba.com. There's going to be a link to the Luna Advanced down in the description below, so click on that. Thank you for watching and safe diving.